Hello students, you are all once again welcome to our online class, and we are still looking at Unit 6, Waves. In our previous lesson, we learned about waves, where you remember very well we said a wave is a periodic disturbance of the particles of a medium. And after that, we learned about the different parts. We call them basic parts. We can call them properties of waves, such as the wavelength, the amplitude, the frequency, and so on. Now today, we are here to look at how do we find the wave speed, the wave frequency, and the wavelength. So that's what we are going to do in this lesson for today. But before we look at that, we need before we start calculating, I want you to get used to the following units and symbols. We have divided our slide into 3 rows. 1, quantity symbol. 2, quantity terms. 3, units, and then unit symbol. This is like V, that is wave speed. And the unit symbol for wave speed is meters per second. We write it like this, M/S. We have this symbol here. It looks like V is upside down, but actually it's not a V because it has something like a tail. And this is the wavelength. Wavelength is calculated in meters. So its standard unit is the meter, and we abbreviate it with letter M. We have the frequency, F. The quantity symbol is F. Quantity term, frequency. So the unit is Hertz. Then the unit symbol is Hz. So you should get used to this. When we talk about wave speed, what's the symbol? When we talk about the wavelength, when we talk about the frequency, and what are their unit symbols. Thank you. Next. Okay, remember we said these are what we shall be using. V, that means wave speed. F means the frequency, and then this one which is like V, which is upside down, that's the wavelength. Remember, wave speed is in meters per second, frequency is in Hertz, Hz, and wave frequency is in meters. So don't forget that. Now, when we are finding the wave frequency, when we are finding the wave speed, the formula is wave speed equals to wavelength multiplied by the frequency. And the product of this symbol and this we shall get has F. That's the product of the two. So meaning that when I'm finding the wave speed, I only need to get the wavelength and multiply it by its frequency. Then I'll be able to get the wave speed, which is in meters per second. Thank you. Now, we are going to develop other two from this equation. The equation is V equals to Hertz multiplied by F, which is Hertz F. Now, assuming I want to make F the subject, or I want to make Hertz the subject. Let's see what happens next. So from our equation 1, where we said that wave speed equals to wavelength multiplied by frequency, and that gave us that V equals to has F, we can be able to make other two equations. So V equals to has F. So in order to make V F the subject, then we shall have V equals to has F, then divide by has on each side. I'll divide the left by has to remain with F, and I will divide the right by has and the left by has. So has F divided by has, I remain with F, and V divided by has, I remain with V over has, meaning that V divided by has is equal to frequency, meaning hence frequency is equal to V divided by has. So when I'm looking for the frequency, I will need to get the wave speed, divide it by the wavelength. Wave speed divided by the wavelength is equal to the frequency. Let's go and see the third one. So those are two. Let's see the Alright, let's steal from our primal equation, which is equation 1, which is V equals to has F. We can get another equation. V equals to has F, so for has to become the subject, we have V equals to has F, then we shall divide F on the right and F on the left. This means that V over F is equal to has. Hence, has is equal to V divided by F. Now, this means that when I'm looking for the wavelength, I'll get the wave speed and divide it by the frequency. That's the formula. Wave length equals to wave speed divided by the frequency. Simple. Three multiplied by 10 to power 8 meters per second, it is equal to the speed of light. That's the speed of light. What is the frequency of radio waves with wavelength of 20 meters? Given that the wave speed is 30 multiplied by 10 power 8 meters per second. So what do we have? 1, we have the wavelength. 2, we have the wave speed. Now what is missing? The frequency. And how do we get frequency? We said that we get frequency equals to wave speed divided by the wave length. Simple. V over has. So what's V? V is 3 multiplied by 10 to power 8 meters per second. And the has is 20. So we are dividing 3 multiplied by 10 to power 8 by 20. Now, when we are dividing, what happens to the powers? We subtract. So since this is power 8 and there is no power here, this means it's power 1. So it will become 3 times 10 to power 3 times 10 to power 8 minus 1 divided by 2. You'll wonder where the 0 has gone. This 0 down, it has gone with a 1. It's the negative 1 up, such that we shall remain with 3 multiplied by 10. 8 minus 1, I remain with 7. So I'll have 3 multiplied by 10 to power 7 divided by 2. When I divide 3 by 2, we remain with 1.5 times 10 to power 7 has. So that's the frequency. And with this, I want you to try for me the next number. Try for me other numbers. We can try them together. Try number 1. Let's try number 1 together. Who can volunteer to do for us number 1? You give us the explanation, and then the other numbers, you'll do them in your books as your work. And after doing them, please take a photo. And after taking that photo, send it back to me such that I can check your work. Thank you very much. See you next time. Have a nice time. Stay home. Stay safe.